Hello everyone and welcome to Call Sign Charlie Models. Time for another inbox review, and today we have another beauty of a kit, one from a brand that I've only built one of, and there is a playlist for this build. That is the Jetmads P2V7 Neptune, and today we will be doing the inbox review of the Jetmads AJ-37 Viggen right here. Now this is a limited production kit, alright, so sadly this one is right now no longer available, but Jetmads, sometimes with the popularity of a kit, they will decide to do another release of it. So keep your eyes out on Jetmads, and sometimes they do release repops of their kits. So going around the side, we have a nice side profile of the box right here, and then we have another profile picture right here, and then on this side we have another profile, side profile as well. Also, this is, where did I see? Like I said, it's a limited edition, and this is kit number 325 out of 500. So I'm going to get all this set up in the box, and we can start going through the instructions, the decals, and then all the resin and 3D printed parts. So give me 1 second to get everything set up. Alright, so real quick, going on with the box again, like we said before, absolutely gorgeous box art right here. Then on the side we have another scheme as well with the camo, and then we have another scheme with the aluminum right here. So all nice schemes right here. Then we open up the box, we have another cover to it, and let's get this all pulled out, because Jetmads does an absolutely amazing job on packing all of their parts. So we'll take a look at this. As you can see, the instructions right here, we'll get that all set up, and then look at the packing on this kit. I mean, everything is in nice foam separators right here with all the parts. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start going through section by section and looking at all the parts. So give me 1 second. Alright, so up first we're going to go through the instructions. Jetmads, nice instruction manuals, nice magazine booklet type thing where it's nice quality paper and everything. So we're going to open it up, and then we have a nice little important notes about some of the parts that are in here, and then we have the legend for symbols. Then we have our color callouts using Tamiya, Mr. Hobby, Testers, testers and testers. So I'm going to have to see, I'm going to be using the MRPs for this, so we'll have to see what converts. But alright, so starting off with the kit, we're working on our ejection seat first, getting all the detail parts on the ejection seat. Looks like it's going to be very nicely detailed. We also have decals to go on the sides of the ejection seat as well. Then after that, we're getting in some sidewalls into our cockpit, along with a few other parts right here. Then we're starting off with our landing gear bay, getting all that on. We have a nice finished photo of it right there. And we also have some decals to put on the inside of the landing gear well as well. Okay, after that we're working on our ejection seat. We got this back piece to go in with the headrest, and then we're sliding in our landing gear well right there, along with our ejection seat as well. Then moving forward, we have our instrument combing and our instrument panel right here. Looks like we have decals to go into all the dials right here, so that's going to look real nice. And then we have a few other parts to go into the cockpit area as well. Alright, after that's all done, we're adding a bunch of other little detail parts into the cockpit. As you can see, it has a nice little photo of how it's supposed to look when it's all assembled. Then for our ejection handles, we do have decals for our ejection handles, so that's going to be, again, very nice as well. And you can see the two different ways that the ejection handle is placed. Okay, after that's all done, we have a few, looks like we have something to cut out right here. Then also looking at our intakes on how those go. Then after that, we're working on our intake cone and our fans. Looks like the fan is going to be extremely detailed right there. And then we're adding in an electronics bay, possibly, right there as well. Nice front view of the, nice view of the front section of the aircraft so far. After that's all done, we're adding in our intakes, getting our intakes on, and it also looks like we're starting to work on our canards right here, canard flaps, getting on, and then we have a few other pieces to add on, looks like either antenna or panel covers right there. Continue on to the top side as well. After that's done, we are working on our exhaust area, getting that all on. We have these fins for our burner, I think they're the air brakes for this, and then getting all that on. It's going to look very nice. I think when I do it, I'm going to have it with the speed brake down, so you can show that off. Just looking at all the detail on here, looks very nice. And then we do have some parts to cut out as well. That's going to be where our wings slot into. After that's all done, we're attaching our landing gear, our main landing gear bays, and then moving forward, we need to cut off the wings from the casting blocks and adding in a few other parts to that, and then we're getting our fuselage halves together, and then again working and cutting off our canard wings right here. And then we're getting all of that slotted into the main fuselage along with our vertical stabilizer as well. And then we have to add all of our pylons, getting all those added on. And then our flaps. We have our wing flaps or elevators, and then we have our canard flaps as well, getting all that attached. And then we have a few lumps and bumps going on to the fuselage right here along with our rudder. Then we have our armament going on. Looks like remove joint completely on this piece. After that's done, we're working on our main landing gear, getting all that all done. You can see a lot of detail are on these kits. These are all 3D printed as well, so it's going to be a lot of detail in there. After that, we're working on a few more pieces of armament. We do have separate rocket heads to put into the rocket bodies if you choose to do so. Then we also have fuel tanks and a few other ordnance options as well. After that's all done, we're working on the main landing gear, getting that in along with our landing gear doors all through there, and then we have our speed brakes right here as well. And you can see has a part right here, shows you how it's supposed to go. Then our front landing gear doors are all being attached. Then it looks like we have a ram air turbine right here to go in, as you can see. And then canopy, rear view mirrors, all that going into the kit. We have the option of having the canopy open or closed for this. Then we have a couple other very tiny parts going on to the trailing edge of the wings. And then we have finally the top piece for the vertical stabilizer, because they did release two of these. So this is the AJ, and then they also have the JA-37 kit released as well. Alright, and then we have the completed assembly side profile right here. And then we're moving on to our color callouts. We have our common stencils all labeled throughout here, along with the fuel tanks right there. And then we have, again, top and bottom profile pictures along in here as well. Alright, getting into the actual color schemes that we have F620 right here. Nice color scheme on that. Then we have F634, moving through that. Then we have an aluminum one, F725. Get a nice scheme on that. And then we have three other options right through here. We have F753, F755, F1510, and then F1526. Then it has another picture of the side profile and top profile of this. So when I do this, I will definitely be doing the camo scheme on this, definitely bringing this to life. This is going to look really good when it's all done. Alright, going on with the decals. Decals do look very nice. Some of these are very large, and the numbers, all right, so the carrier film is cut right alongside the numbers, so you're not going to have a large block of carrier film for all that. Even in the 4, the middle is hollowed out, so that is nice touch right there. And yeah, so from the experience I have with the Neptune, the decals from Jetmads are absolutely top notch. You should not have any issue with these decals at all. Alright, so let's get started on the kit. Looks like this is resin cast right here. Absolutely gorgeous rivet detail on here. Get you zoomed in so you can see, but you can see all that nice rivet detail. It does have a little bit of like the release mold on it, so definitely going to want to give this a wash with some Dawn soap, and then we have these areas to cut out right in here. But it is nice and thin, so it should be fairly easy to cut those out on that. So again, absolutely gorgeous rivet detail. We do have a little bit of mold flash right here to cut off, but again, that's not bad at all. That's actually protecting that piece from getting broken right there. So again, nice on that. Then we go to the inside. We do have a little bit of a casting block right here, or bump. Quick easy sand on that as well. Then we have this, I think this is one of the exhaust areas, because we do have some nice detail on the inside of that as well, as you can see. Very large exhaust on that. Alright, so inside of that piece, it was a few 3D printed pieces put in there, and these, like all 3D printing for the most part, are absolutely amazing. They're pretty tightly in the bag. Definitely being very careful on removing these. Alright, so here's your afterburner ring, and look at that detail on that. That is absolutely amazing detail on that. I mean, super thin, super nice. I mean, all the detail on the rings and the fins, everything just absolutely looks amazing on that. Alright, now moving on to our next one. Oh my, absolutely gorgeous fan blade detail. I mean, look how thin those fan blades are. Absolutely gorgeous on that. And you get that painted up and weathered, that is going to look absolutely amazing when it's all done. Alright, moving on to our intakes. Intakes look absolutely amazing as well. Nice and smooth. Do have a little bit of a, alright, I took care, that's just a little bit of pieces in there, but again, nice detail on that. How much of it you're going to be able to see, don't really know, but again, very nice detail on that. It is labeled right and left on these, as you can see. Get these together, I think they fit like that. So that's how that's going to look when that's all done. Again, absolutely amazing on the detail on that. Then we have the landing gear well. Looks like I had a little piece broke off, but I can fix that with some super glue. Nice and clean break. Shouldn't be too difficult to take care of once I get it on right like that. Alright. Yep, so super clean break, easy to fix on that. So again, some really nice detail on the inside of that. Alright, moving on to our next 3D printed part. This is the tail section right here, and as you can see, the rivet detail and everything is just absolutely gorgeous on here. You're going to need to remove those supports for the 3D printed, but just a quick knife and then a quick like hit over with a light sander, that issue's taken care of. Then you look at the inside of this and you can see all the amazing detail even on the inside of here. Look at that burner, the can right here, absolutely amazing detail on that, and from the reverse side you can see as well. Then we have the nose cone. Some nice panel lining to it, not much detail to it, but a nice shape. Hopefully this fits well. We'll have to see. And then these are portions of ordnance, possibly. We have 4 of these. Not much detail to them, they're just resin cast on that. And a little bit of flash or mold goop on right here, so gonna need to take care of all that. Alright, so up next we have 2 canopies right here. This is your front canopy. Definitely gonna need to be very careful when you're cutting this off of the casting block, but this is absolutely crystal clear and nice clear resin, versus that was the one downside to the whole Neptune build were the clear parts in that kit, but this one is actually very nice and clear, as you can see on both of these. Super clear. You even putting a polish on that is really gonna look nice when it's all done. Alright, so up next we have our rocket faces right here. As you can see, absolutely amazing detail on these. Nice, and just the way that they go back in there, absolutely awesome. And then your rocket heads, again, you can paint those up separately and then load them in. Really gives a nice detail on that, as you can see. Then we have this piece right here, some decent fan blade detail on here. Not sure where this piece is going to go. Then we have what looks to be like an intake piece right here. Again, nice and smooth on that. You're not going to have to worry about any seam lines or anything. Then we have our nose landing gear well right here. Look at all the detail that's inside of there with the cabling and wiring on that. Absolutely amazing on the detail on that. And we have more of these pieces. Not much. We have a little bit of resin or panel line detail to it, and when we put it up next to each other, they seem to fit okay. Definitely going to need to take care of that seam line on it, but it shouldn't be too difficult. They do match up perfectly all the way around. Okay, we have up next we have these 2 pieces. I'm not sure what they're meant for, but there's no real detail to them, so we shouldn't have any issues with any of this. I'm sure this is just an inside piece right there. Okay, up next we have all of our flaps right here. Again, nice detail on them. It's one piece, so you're not going to have to worry about any seam lines. You're just going to need to saw them off of the casting block right here. So it shouldn't be much of an issue. They are all nice and numbered on there, so you can really see what you're doing when you're doing this. Okay, and then we have all of our pylons on here. Again, resin cast. The rivet detail, panel line detail on here is actually pretty nice all the way through on here. As you can see, shouldn't be any real issues with any of this right here. So again, some nice detail on these pylons. Okay, up next we have a fuel tank. Get this all lined up. Let's see. Or maybe there's another piece that goes in between of here. Again, this looks pretty nice. Nice rivet detail, panel line detail on here is pretty nice as well. So yeah, hopefully this all goes together fairly nice. We do have some weak rivet detail around the tail of here. There is a few rivets, but not very strong, and it looks like there's a start of rivet detail, but it really doesn't sink in on this. Then we have our canards right here. Again, nice panel line detail. The rivet detail is a little bit soft. Might need to go in there with a riveter. I'm hoping that it will show up on the camera, but it is pretty soft. It's there, so it's a good starting point. It'll help you as a reference on where to go with your rivet. So, but again, a lot of nice rivet detail. Just maybe needs a little bit more pronunciation on the rivet detail on that. Then this piece right here, again, pretty nice rivet detail where you can see it. I'm hoping, like right here, the rivet detail is really soft. I'm definitely going to need to go in there and re-rivet that. Alright, so up next we have our instrument panel. Again, instrument panel looks very nice, nicely detailed. We're going to have decals that go in that, so it's really going to liven that up. And then we have the sidewalls. Again, very nice on the detail on these. Get those painted up. It's going to look extremely nice when it's all painted up. Alright, and then we have what looks to be one of our landing gear doors. You can see some of the 3D print lines. You're really not seeing that on the rest of the kit. So, or these might be scratches from removing the other piece out. But again, some nice detail on this kit. You can see how thin the actual body metal is on this right here. So that's going to paint up really nice and look really nice and thin on that. Just going to have to do a little bit of sanding when you remove these supports from it, just to remove the nubs, but cut a little bit away from it and then take care of it from there so you don't get any divots in your 3D printed resin. Alright, so up next, it looks like we have some parts for our landing gear wells, or the tops or fillers for the wings right here. Again, nice rivet detail on here. You can see the cabling detail on there as well. Be very careful because that is going to be very fragile and break off rather easy. But this is definitely going to liven up your landing gear wells, as you can see right here. Don't worry about the numbers because that's going to be on the underside, because on this side is all your rivet detail on there and your panel lines, as you can see. And then we have the other landing gear door. Again, same detail on this one, very nice. And then again, just gonna be very careful when you're removing these supports. Okay, and then we have our forward fuselage section. A little bit of a seam to take care of on here. It is fairly thin and should sand off fairly easily, but just gonna need to take care of that on there. The rivet detail, panel line detail on here, it's fairly nice. Not as nice as the aft section, but it is pretty nice. And we do have some like resin goop mold in some of the areas, so definitely going to need to take care of that. And then we also have the line from where they probably had a different front section for one of the releases right there. But again, panel line and rivet detail on here is pretty nice. It's weird that we have that kind of like sticker on it, sticker glue on it, but again, just gonna need to sand this down, and it shouldn't take that much to sand it down. Then we have our interior cockpit detail. Again, not much to it, but you're going to be putting a lot into here to kind of liven that up. So that's going to look nice when it's all done. Then we have our intakes. Again, intakes look fairly nice with the panel line detail on here and the rivet detail. Should stand the test of the paint and primer. Maybe these go a little bit soft back in here, but that shouldn't be too difficult to go and re-scribe it. And we do the quick test fit on the intakes. Alright, and doing a quick test fit on the intakes. Does look like we are going to need a little bit of putty work around here, like to get this part to match up. We do have a little bit of a step there, and then we do have a little bit of a gap right along in here. So it's a little bit of work, but this is modeling. If you want a kit that absolutely falls together without any effort, buy a Tamiya kit. But if you actually want to challenge yourself, get one of these. And again, this one has that goop that's on the inside of this slot right here, so it's really preventing a perfect fit from here. So I can't really give it a good estimate on how it is going to fit because of that goop. I got to clean all that out to get that lined up. But alright, so up next we have another casting block, and these are nice and protected right here. And this is block A, and you can see the numbers all right here. So nice and numbered, so you don't have any question about which part it is. They are some very small parts right here, as you can see. Then we flip it over to the other side, and we have like our landing gear. You can see all the detail that's in that landing gear as well. Just very nice. We do have some 3D print lines right here, but you're not going to be able to see any of those. Just got to be very, very careful when you're removing these off of the sprue. So be very careful, take your time, and you won't have any issue. Alright, up next we have another a couple resin casting blocks, and these do come off, right? I'm not going to break them off right now, but we have all the tiny parts right through here. We have our nose landing gear. As you can see, the detail on that nose landing gear is very nice on that, and then all the tiny parts going through on the detail on that is absolutely superb. And then our canopy rail on there, again, nice and thin. Hopefully I can, yeah, there you go. Nice and thin, and everything. We have a few clear parts right here as well to take care of. Then we have our main wheels. Detail on them is pretty nice. Definitely going to want to paint and weather them and wash them up, and they should look really nice when they're all done. So another thing I wanted to point out is on that top box, when you pulled the top box off, you have this little box right here that's sitting on top of all the parts, really helping them stay in their plastic. And you have some nice real life shots of the Viggen right here, and then on the reverse side it just says AJ-37. So I just wanted to show that off real quick. So you have some nice reference photos. You have a nice like diorama idea right here, even though it doesn't show how to make the folded fin. I'm sure with a little bit of scratch building that would be able to be possible. Alright, so there you have it. The Jetmads 132nd AJ-37 Viggen. And this kit looks very, very nice. Now, is it as nice as what the Neptune is? I would have to say the Neptune was a few steps ahead of this one for a couple reasons. Number one, the Neptune was a later release than this one. Secondly, the Neptune was all 3D printed, so all the detail on that kit, the entire fuselage, everything is all 3D printed. So all the detail on the Neptune is absolutely top notch all the way around. This kit, with it being a mixed media kit with some old school resin and then also mixed in with the 3D print, might cause a few fit issues. I'm hoping that we don't have much of that, but we will have to see. The clear parts on this one though are 100 times better than the clear parts on the Neptune, so that's the trade-off. But all the important areas like the exhaust area, the cockpit, the landing gear wells, they're all 3D printed, so those are the high detail parts. And then for the fuselage body is the old school resin cast. Some of the detail goes a little bit soft, like the rivet detail, but it shouldn't be too difficult to go in and re-rivet that, because you do have a starting point to go in, and it doesn't look like it's too bad. It's not like all the rivets are soft, it's just a few of them are soft. So just to go in there with your little pin vise and hit those up again shouldn't take much work. But this one does look like it's going to be an absolute blast to build. Gonna definitely take some modeling to do it. And speaking of that, I hope that my comment earlier about the Tamiya kit meant no disrespect to anybody. I personally, I like building Tamiya kits as well, but this kit is gonna definitely require some modeling skill to get this one done, because I can already tell there's gonna be some fit issues with this kit. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed. Keep your eyes out on Jetmads on their releases, because also when they do put them up for pre-order, they typically sell out on pre-order. So definitely need to keep your eye out. Get on the subscriber list for their email list so you get notifications when they do the pre-orders, so you can get on them. So I do know that they do have a couple in the works. They have the 1/48 scale B-47 that's in the works right now. I cannot wait to see what that one's going to look like. And they also have the 132nd F-22 Raptor in the works as well. Another two great kits that I'm really looking forward to. But anyways, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope if you are able to in the future, if they do a re-release of this kit, I hope you're able to get your hands on this one. But other than that, thank you for watching. If you haven't yet, don't forget to like and subscribe, comment down below, and hit the bell button for notifications of when I post future content. And until next time, have a great day, stay frosty, and happy modeling.